Hello, everyone, and a very warm good evening to everyone in India, and good morning to you, Niraj. Welcome,
Thank you, Akriti.
Welcome, Niraj, to yet another session of Fireside Chat. As you all know, we organize a Fireside Chat session with Niraj every month. If you would like to suggest a topic for discussion, feel free to ping us on our social media channel. I'm Akriti Verma, co-founder Open Growth. As always, I'm excited to have Niraj Sharan with us today. Niraj is a technology visionary and the founder chairman of Aura Inc. He has a wealth of business experience in India, the US, and the EU, and is also a member of the Technical Expert Committee under the Department of Science and Technology, Government of India. Today, we'll be talking with Niraj about access to global markets and globalization. So let's get comfortable, grab a drink, and enjoy an engaging conversation with Niraj. So Niraj, so my first question will be like, what are the potential economic and social benefit of increased access to global markets for developing countries and emerging economies?
Thank you, Akriti. Thank you for having me here. It's a very good morning from Gilroy, where I am at this point, which is 40 miles south of the Silicon Valley. The weather is nice, and I've just grabbed my cup of coffee, and you guys are free to have your glass of wine or whatever you wish to have. It's always good to be with Open Group, because I think we have a fair amount of interesting subjects that we are beginning to cover. And it draws me back into my days when I started all this. And I wish there were more options at that time for us to speak. But, the subject of globalization opportunities and, what we are talking about here, I'm actually very tempted to say that there is something comes to my mind and I hope you get the message, and everybody who's on the call right now, that the harder I work, the luckier I get. There's very deep meaning here, and I'm sure people understand what I'm trying to say here. Coming to the question that you had about the potential economic and social benefits of increased access to global markets. So the question is in two parts. One is the economic part of it, one is the social part of it. And on the economic side, we are talking about global market, which in Indian terminology means export of goods or services. Mm-hmm. The first very compelling reason for that is you always get a price differential of your product and services outside of India. Mm-hmm. I mean, it depends on the type of industry you are in, but anywhere from 15, 20, 25% is the uplift you get on the pricing if you do the same thing to the global market. That's a very big compelling reason to go into the export market, because you get a bottom line 20, 25% up. The government of India has all kinds of packages that if you are to export things, you can get your project funded through export earnings, which is much lower than the interest rate of what government does for the local markets. It's LIBOR plus maybe 2%. So you can still get money at about 5.5%, 6% in India, whereas you will get money for rupee work not less than 9, 10%. So that's a big thing. And if you're an exporter, if you do well, then you also get some licenses to bring whatever you want to bring. So that's another incentive. And the thing is, even if the world market was not expanding, sometimes we heard this, we have headwinds, the world market is not expanding. And I'm saying, how does it really matter to us in this specific arena that we're talking, because our base rate is so small. Mm-hmm. And India's market share of the world market and export is so small that even if it's a shrinking market, we can double our market share. So don't get deterred with that fact that, oh my God, this is the wrong time. The time is always right. When you go into the global market, mm-hmm. economically, I think you improve your technology, you improve your quality assurance, you improve your compliance, You are part of the new trend that's happening because now you're playing in that arena.
Mm-hmm.
These are very, very direct, indirect benefits that you're out of when you go into the global market or the economic front. Socially, when you work with companies outside, there's a convergence of culture and trends and social understanding. There is a beginning of resonance in that process. It actually enriches your personal life because you learn so much.
Yeah.
Dealing with a whole set of clients who could be a different nationality, different age, different order of magnitude of the revenues. And your travels will go up because if you have clients, you will travel to your clients. So that's another big social advantage you have. Most often when you have a client who is very consistent and you've been supplying, you've been a vendor to them for some time, they expect a little bit of donations here and there for all the little things they do over the year. It could be a golf thing. It could be support to the community for cancer. It could be clean drive in the community. It could be for the best employee. It could be for a cause in that country. I think socially, it's a big learning. You understand how social responsibilities are done a little better outside. And this is what I call the enrichment in the social cycle. So I think between the economic and social, there are a whole lot of benefits here.
Yeah, absolutely. But the competition is also high, but you have to compete. And that is how you make your product or services like up to the mark, I would say.
And Akriti, I would go one step further where you said something very right. When the moment you talk of globalization, there is going to be global competition. If you're in India, there will be internal competition. It's everywhere. I don't think we can anymore thrive if you're only talking of a labor arbitrage. We have to bring other arbitrages in our working. Innovation, higher efficacy, compliance. These are things that have to be brought in. The traditional way, because our labor is cheap, we can do. Those days are over because you're dealing with countries from China, Vietnam, Taiwan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka. That's not enough. You need unfair advantage of a couple of things, not just a location based on, our energy prices in India are higher than many of these countries. So you have a disadvantage. The advantage right now is our rupee is weaker. So you get more competitive. So it is a dynamic process, but you have to have a couple of advantages to be doing well in this market.
Absolutely, agreed. So what are some emerging trends or disruptive forces that are shaping the landscape of global markets and influencing how entrepreneurs access and compete in those markets?
So I think I would take this question in two parts. One is a general trend that I see, and one is what is specific to India. The general trends that we see is, post-COVID or during COVID, there has been disruption in the supply chain of various countries who were affected. There was logistic issues. There was a congestion at the ports and the airports, and things were not moving. The freight was high. So supply chain disruptions happened. And almost everybody is creating a more balanced supply chain, which means alternate sources. So that is a trend that people have more than 1, 2, or 3 sources of supply to make sure they don't get stuck in the disruption anymore. Second is, of course, there is also a little bit of geopolitical push that is happening in the world, that there are some preferred configurations, and people do it by way of tariff. So there is definitely a geopolitical push. Some countries have the preference. Some are having a dumping duty on them. China is right now on the back foot because US has put a 25% tariff on it. India, that way, is, I would say, a preferred vendor, because we fall under the generalized system of preferences. If you have a country of origin of India, at most between 0.8 to 2%, your duties are over here in the US.
Yeah.
So these are some trends that we see. digitization and outreach has become different. So that is a new trend. So we need to be mindful of that. The second part is on India specific. And this is a very interesting narrative that I would like to bring to notice to all of us. That, I came here way back in the 80s, first time to do my master's. That India was a novel to perceived to be a country which was still very backward, with serpents on the road and cows going around. So we had to prove our mettle at that time doing masters when I was doing computer science masters, that we had to prove that we could do this.
Yeah.
Over the years, thanks to a lot of nice NRIs who settled around the world, especially in the US, and the internet boom that happened and the software boom that happened, it gave India a big brand.
Yeah.
So in the 90s, India became a brand, early to mid 90s. India became a brand in software, and software services and products were respected, accepted, and it was thriving. But that supply chain moved to another level. So the next level was, now you see last 10 years, the CEOs, CXOs of many large companies in the world are of Indian origin.
Yeah.
Whatever nationality they may have, but they have moved from India to someplace at some point of time in their life, which validates the leadership and the strategy part of India. So that's where we are at this point. And now a new trend is coming in last few years, very early stages, is India is becoming a hub for manufacturing.
Yeah.
So as you know that iPhones are made in India.
Yeah.
We have the semiconductor things that are going to be big time in 5 years from now. India would be a big supplier. So, all put together, there could not be a better time that the emerging trend for India for the next couple of decades, we need to do it right. And we need to do it well. That's the only challenge we have, is if we don't do it right. The world is embracing India in a nice manner. We need to do it right.
We have a lot of opportunities in place now. We just have to
Of
strive
course.
through it.
Absolutely. We have to do that. And the time is now. So I think it's a fair statement to make that for the next couple of decades, there is enough ample opportunities to grow.
True, absolutely. So how has the rise of e-commerce and digital platforms transformed the landscape of global markets and expanded opportunities for entrepreneurs? Can you provide some example or some suggestion on business that have leveraged these platforms effectively?
So interesting that even my kid's math tutor, who actually lives in Faridabad, he's doing math tutorship in the United States.
Oh, wow.
He's doing it. I've got people, I know someone in Lucknow who is teaching Abad cooking classes in the UK and in US. I've got people, art classes coming out of Jaipur, yoga classes coming out of Bihar. This is at the micro level where individuals, because of the e-commerce digital platforms, are able to create that community and clients for themselves at a small level. But look around. I mean, health tourism, travel packages, mental wellness, physiotherapy is being given now. I mean, it's amazing. If you look at the various look at EdTech, educational technology.
Yeah.
I mean, Byju's, whatever you may say about Byju's, but they're doing unbelievable work outside of India as well, thanks to the digital platform and the e-commerce. They have acquired companies in California, but they're doing work, EdTech, in the health tech. I mean, I know of companies like Portia, like Practo, MedIndia, Librate. In the business app, we have Zoho. I mean, in the wellness, I know of people who are doing Your Dost, MindFit. Oh, there's a lot of things going around. The thing is today, and this is where there's a double advantage to India. We are a fairly English-speaking nation, fairly deep, even small towns as well. Second is, All this involves software and web and things like that, those tools. India is the mother of all this.
Yeah,
So the
absolutely.
cost to create a web page and the cost to create a YouTube channel or a LinkedIn or this is probably 1/4 to 1/8 from the world market. And
Yeah.
there are enough people, maybe your own home, there is somebody studying in school who can do it for you. I mean,
Yeah.
we are talking of that level of penetration. So I think this is an advantage we should all leverage
Mhm.
to create that and leverage our digital platform and e-commerce, even at the very micro level. Companies are doing at the macro level,
Yeah.
and so it's a very, very once in a lifetime thing that has happened. I mean, you wouldn't have to take a flight and go to 10 cities earlier in 5 countries to even meet 10 clients and start talking about it. The cost of go to market at the micro or the macro level was enormous, and was the impediment for people to become entrepreneur. Where's
Mhm.
the money? You're trying to be an entrepreneur, where would you get the money? But
Mhm.
today, thanks to all this, I
Yeah.
mean, you can create in a very optimized manner. You can create all this and start small and then build and redeploy the funds back into your business and do it. So I think this is the advantage India has, that the adoption of digital technology has been high. E-commerce, software, website, live website, feedback websites. It's huge. So
Yeah.
I think I don't think we have any reason to complain.
Absolutely. People, micro entrepreneurs are using Facebook Marketplace and Instagram to sell their products, and they are doing pretty well on that.
There you
So,
go. I mean, I am still personally, I'm still relatively new to that, but I am being sold things that the algorithm has picked up my interest, and
yeah.
I am getting offers for various product or services on Facebook and LinkedIn, maybe even on Instagram. And what an amazing, powerful thing it is. I
Yeah.
mean, the moment, since we are pivoting into an AI domain now quite strongly, I mean, it'll pick your location, where you are. It'll
Mhm.
pick your trends of what you make or do or talk or think, and it'll offer you clients from your area and connect you potentially to them. That's the power of all this we are talking about. I mean, this could not have been done or thought of until you had deep pockets earlier, especially if you wanted to go out of the country into export domain. You would have had a lot of money for sales and marketing, which is also there today. I'm not saying it's a binary state that gets over, but the initial expenditure required is far lower today than ever before.
People can connect on Zoom like we are connected on Zoom and talking to each other.
What is a Zoom? Even if you had to have a Zoom business account, I don't know. I think $130 a year or $120 a year. In India, it could be even less in rupees. So
Mhm.
I think affordable,
Yeah. Afford.
doable things we are talking about, which makes it very powerful for entrepreneurs and people who are professional to go out in the market and engage with potential clients, learn, share, and do commerce.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. So, what role do international trade fairs, exhibitions, and business conferences play in facilitating access to global markets for entrepreneurs? How can entrepreneurs maximize the benefit of participating in such events?
And this is a mistake that I may have made earlier in my life. I should have attended more trade fairs. Uh, you see, the thing is, I call it the cycle of attending to exhibiting.
Mhm.
So you have to attend these trade shows. It's like almost like this. If you haven't been to Vegas for work, I'm talking work. If you
Yeah.
haven't been to Vegas for work, if you haven't been to Hanover for work, then I don't know what you're doing in the global marketplace, because these are two centers where essentially trade fairs for all industry verticals happen. Hanover, Messe still is. So, and Vegas is like, I think every day they have one or two trade fairs a day, or maybe more. What it does is when you go to trade fairs, you know what's going on. You see the trend of technology, the quality, you understand the future trends. You begin to know what kind of people are playing in that arena. You meet with people, you attend those, not just attend the kiosk, but there are sessions within the trade fair that you can attend of your interest. And so you begin to meet with people and get a database. You subscribe to that website for that fair. You're part of the database now. You can buy a premium subscription later to have more access to it. No, I think, and you have to pick up your own industry specific trade show. And each one, food has its own, defense, aerospace, software, technology, healthcare, education, manufacturing. In manufacturing, whether it's plastics, mechanical, electronics, you have to pick your own trade show across the world and begin to attend. And so I think it takes a few years, maybe 1 to 3 years time. If you're quick enough, you will attend that, you will make friends, you will understand what it is. And soon you will graduate to exhibiting there, because that's the whole goal. When you exhibit, then people will come and ask for what you are, who you are, and things like that. But I would recommend that if you're new to this whole thing, do take 1 or 2 years to attend a few of these trade shows wherever in the world, whichever one that matters, and then begin to exhibit that. So very important. I think, otherwise, how do you start? Where do you start? You need to be part of some community. Not only that, I think we should also create webinars on your subject, yourself, and invite industry people relevant to that to come and participate. It's a very, very strong indirect way of your branding and role, that you have created a conference around a subject in that arena you are in, and asking all kind of people to come and talk and exchange. So that's another way of going in, I would say. And so trade fairs, absolutely a must, I think. Absolutely.
Yeah, I also agree to this point for sure. So how do intellectual property rights and protections impact entrepreneurs' ability to ability to access global markets? What steps can entrepreneurs take to safeguard their intellectual properties in international business ventures?
I think it's a good challenge, because that means itni kabiliyat ho gayi hai ki you have to safeguard some of your IPs and marks. So yeah, I mean, there are all levels of what you can do. At the highest level, we are talking about patents. You can file for a patent with an arena, product, process, whatever. That's the highest level of patents. And then you can look at trademarks. You create a trademark of your brand and logo. That's another level of safeguarding your thing. Then you're talking of copyrights, that you can give authorized copyrights only if you authorize it can be used. So you can come up with contracts of copyrights. Then you have non-disclosure agreements and trade secrets that you will ask your clients to sign, or sometimes they ask you to sign because they are sharing some drawing and IP. So these are non-disclosure agreements and trade secrets. Then there is contracting and licensing that you do, that you authorize. So these are tools available at each level. And you have to sit back, think, and strategize what is relevant and at what point of your business cycle you are in. Maybe you start with employee non-disclosure, that they cannot disclose. It is important that you have to ask your colleagues to sign a non-disclosure that they cannot take the IP to somewhere else. whether it's a client database or drawings or information, that thing belongs to the company. And this is where I want to emphasize, India is very weak in it. Very, very weak. If you are looking to build a brand and IP, it starts from day one. That you have to put contracts when you recruit people to come on board with these conditions, and you translate that as you go forward to your vendors, to your buyers, through all these words that I said. And earlier, now there are enough trade, patent, IP, and copyright lawyers in the country or institutions. You can go to the government of India as well, to the MSME sector, and say, I want to file for this, but I don't have the resource to do it. And they will help you, because then it is bringing an asset, not just to you, but to the country. And I know that there are universities as well, and there are institutions that actually offer free patent applications if you go through them. Okay. So the patent remains with you always. It's yours, but they become sort of a facilitator, and it helps their brand that, we filed through our affiliates for 200 patents, but you get it free. So at some level, it's a win-win for both parties. I mean, it's your patent. You didn't have to spend money. You went to this company or university or college, and then you filed through their platform. It is your patent. The only thing they get is some sort of an affiliation. It's their brand, but you save a lot of money, and then you don't have the resource to deal with lawyers. So I think we need to look at that, because if we are stepping into the global market with new products, innovative products, these are very essential. Then not only that, I mean, depending on what you do, each product has its own certifications outside of India. You may want to have a UL, or you may have to go for, Alberta Boiler Safety Authority, or a CRN number based on industry and location. So you have to start to even file and get those numbers for yourself, which protects you and also puts you in that shorter list of players to be able to sell.
Absolutely. And in India, a lot of people are coming up with so innovative ideas, and they need to protect those ideas via IPs. And if they are going into global markets, they have to do it. Otherwise, it will be very risky for them to do it.
Absolutely. I mean, you can see the rise of IP applications in India. I mean, 20 years back, it would be so far and few, but people are filing for it. And also, it helps if you file, even if you don't get it, applied for. Is a testament, is a proof that you're onto something nice. That also helps more access to the global markets.
Yeah, actually, that's a good trend, I would say. That's an amazing thing to have. So how do cultural adaptation and localization play a role in accessing and succeeding in global markets? Can you provide some examples of companies that have effectively localized their products or services?
I think in our daily life, at a very deep level, but at a very non-technical level, but a very deep marketing level. Look at what McDonald's and KFC does in India. I mean, chicken tikka burger, rice in KFC, nowhere in the world you will see except for India and maybe China or some places. So all smart companies who have to play the world market have to look at things very global, which is a word of global and local. You have to become very global and see what relevance it is to your market. For example, animation, right? Toys. I mean, India mein wo Chota Bheem is like big time. Yeah. But Chota Bheem will not work in the US, right? They don't know what character Chota Bheem is.
Yes.
As an example. So you have to figure out the local characteristics of the market, what is very important to them and adapt yourself in line with that. Now, this goes more for non-engineering industrial goods, which is more entertainment, which is more, food and things like that. In the engineering goods, there are world standards, but who knows? Maybe the packaging. Sometimes even a small little thing like a packaging. What appeals to a Western client with the same product you make? You need to have a different packaging.
Yeah.
You need to have a different packaging. The same packaging, what we do somewhere else may not work because the preference of a white cardboard versus a brown cardboard versus a logo in it or a laminated. I mean, look at Apple. Imagine, look at Apple product. They, of course, have a standard worldwide because they're so big brand. They don't have to go global. But just to give you an idea of how innovative that packaging is. So I actually tell a lot of entrepreneurs who have a product to sell that while we do a lot of focus on quality, innovation, performance, et cetera, we need to be mindful of the packaging as well and the paperwork with it. It's not just a little paperwork to sign off and say, okay, release to ship. It's got to be a nice paperwork in a nice envelope, stapled to the product, inside a Ziploc bag, inside the product. The packaging has to be appealing. Spend a little bit more time on the design of it. The tape you use around has to be appealing. So this is part of the localization of your product, because the overall experience of how he buys, how he opens, how he cuts. In India, we tend to be very rough and tough with it, that it's very difficult to open a sealed package because we wrap around so many times. That's not going to work here in the US market. You need to have something functional, efficacy has to be high. So these are examples that come to my mind. Health. I mean, India is a tropical country, so there the products that sell are a little different, but in a north polar environment or in a cold place, you need to position different products. Some are common, some are different. So this is a look at within India. Why go beyond India?
Yeah.
I mean, within India, what we eat in different parts of India, how we eat is also a little different. So we should be the most learned people on planet Earth to know what is localization.
Yeah, and language also plays an important role, because if I am writing something on my product in English, it may not work in China. So I have to go like language according to the country and the place I am opting for.
Of course, we have to do all this. So, yeah, so I think we need to be mindful and create an experience of your products or services in that market, which is sensitive to its local culture, the way they perceive, the way they work, the way they open or close or use or warranties, guarantees, all of it. I mean, a warranty could be okay for 12 months in one country. It could be 18 months in another country, as an example. So these are just examples. You need to go deep and find out what the relevance is and adapt your product and services to that local market to have that acceptance and to have more traction in that market.
Absolutely. So any suggestions for entrepreneurs who are going to go global?
Well, these are all, first of all, my first thing is, hey, the time is now. So, okay, I have to say one more thing on this. You tempted me to say something that I want to say. It may be contrarian to what people talk, but this is what I feel. Technology is to be utilized and used and leveraged to make our lives better, to make our products, whatever we do, better, right? That's the use of technology. What I see now is an overbuzz of tech, tech. It's an overcrowded space. People are jumping into that apple slice of pie, which is not so big, and there are too many people chasing it. But whereas the vast ocean of opportunities for entrepreneurs in today's globalized world, it's still not tapped. So I would first advise is don't get carried away with the flashy, trendy, oh, I'm in tech space. Then if you want to be an entrepreneur of success, of course, you have to bring what your values and skill sets are, but look in a broader way of things that have not yet been done. I mean, I'll give you an example. I mean, someone was mentioning this. I spent a fair amount of time in the US, and Indian mangoes are so rare to find here.
Yeah. Okay.
So rare. Why? Even today.
Yeah.
And we are one of the largest growers, the best mangoes in the world, I think we grow. Why is it not happening? It's people in smaller towns where they're growing, they can have a captive unit, look at all that, and meet the demands of this unmet demand, right? It's not always about creating an app on a phone or in some tech space. Use technology to do the mango thing. That's what technology is all about. Use the technology to send out even a spice. Technology to do work in toys or agriculture produce or anything you do. Technology is not to be understood as, oh, the tech space and the world demand is only about writing software codes on an app or something. These are plug and play tools now with ChatGPT. You can just download, boom, 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 download. So focus on the value added, unmet demand, fix a problem, do it where you are. You don't even have to move your location. Get the technology to make it innovative and efficient. That's my first major suggestion to all the young people. Fix problems. Every area has a problem. Every area has a problem. And there is enough room to grow. If you can fix a problem in your area and run it for a year or two and become a brand, you will grow into something big. Take something, do it well, rather than saying the world is an oyster and then start to go whatever. Make your company profitable first before you start to ask for more money, because there are so many examples that people sold a lot of their equity at very low valuation because they just wanted to grow. And if they had waited for another year, made themselves profitable, the same money they could have had with 1/4 of the equity they gave away. So think a little deeper, focus on profitability, and then grow. It doesn't have to be a 3-year growth.
Absolutely.
Always.
I agree to your point, and I hope everybody here who is listening to our conversation follows this. Thank you, Niraj, for your valuable insights on today's topic. It was a really interacting conversation today. And
thank you, Akriti. It's always good to be here.
We'll meet soon in the next fireside session, which is scheduled to be in the next month. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Pleasure being here, and all the best to Open Growth. Thank you.
Thank you so much.